So if I take hairspray and if I spray it in my apartment, which is all sealed, and you're telling me that affects the ozone layer? Yes. I say, no way, folks, no way.
So I don't think science has anything to fear from Mr. Trump.
President Trump's proposed budget plan could threaten America's ability to fight health threats.
A beautiful child went to have the vaccine and came back, now is autistic.
This is basically an attack on science, on climate.
In many ways, we seem, back in pre-Enlightenment times.
We can burn coal in a clean fashion.
He conducted an intrusive review of the National Science Foundation's peer-reviewed grant process, effectively using the committee's subpoena power to harass scientists whose work he doesn't like.
He's going to deny. He's going to defund. That means a disaster is now possible.
When that storm comes.
On a rainy Earth Day in Boston, people gathered across the river in a little spot called Harvard University, where some of our brightest minds were listening to speeches and getting ready to march.
When that rain falls, let it wash away. When that rain falls.
In today's world, which blurs truth and alternative fact, we cannot stand idly by. Because climate change is not a debate. Vaccines are not a debate. The benefits of healthcare are not a debate. And the importance of science to our society's well-being and growth is not a debate.
This movement is about the quality of our democracy, and then the quality of the science in it is something that almost follows like a mathematical corollary.
We march because our future depends upon the future of science.
Once you've made up your mind that the institutions that produce that evidence are corrupt all the way through, you don't believe them.
When we tell our fellow scientists about the work that we're doing, we don't expect them to just believe us. We are peer-reviewed. We're constantly interrogated. We're constantly evaluated. When I give a talk at Cornell next week about my work, I fully anticipate that the audience will ask me, but are you sure you did that experiment correctly? But how do you know that that was the right number of cells to analyze? And are you sure you are not over-interpreting your data?
They don't need to like it. It's not about liking or not liking what we find. That's not science. Remember, Einstein didn't really like quantum mechanics. Too bad, Einstein. There should never be censorship of science itself. And if that's what's happening in this administration, I'm very sad. I'm not going to use any bad words. I thought about it.
Our political scientists point to the deep impact of fossil fuel companies in delaying and blocking science-based climate policy. And yet we continue to legitimize these companies and profit off of these companies' reprehensible, science-denying, people-harming, planet-destroying activities.
These last few years, I've learned that sometimes sitting on the sidelines just isn't good enough. I've learned that in the words of Albert Einstein, I'll remind you, a refugee to this country, those who have the privilege to know have the duty to act. And we share in that duty because anti-science climate policy doesn't just contradict science. It threatens jobs, justice, and national security. And that's why today, science fights back.
It's not just science that is threatened right now. It's knowledge, it's inquiry, data suppression, the elimination of data, the deletion of websites, the denial of language, that scientists in Florida or North Carolina can't even use the words climate change. We knew it was garbage, so we just thought it would go away. But you know what? Garbage doesn't go away. You know how to talk to people. You're smart, you're nice, and you're cute. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for walking, and see you at the Common.
Hey! Ho, ho! Alternative facts have got to go! Hey, hey!
They marched through the streets all the way to the very wet Boston Common, where scientists and non-scientists alike gathered in the thousands. Representing Boston in every regard was former EPA Administrator Gina McCarthy.
Happy Earth Day! My poor EPA, 15,000 people, I love you! Every aspect of EPA's work seems to be under attack. As Americans, as New Englanders, as Boston Strong, we care about our natural world. We value the safety of our communities and our country, and we will cherish and we will fight for the health and future of our children. So far in Washington have made it clear that they are not only intent on denying inconvenient science, they're out to stop doing science, period and full stop. Let's vow to stand together as if our lives and our livelihood depend on it, because they just may. Thank you.
I think we should be pleading for a restoration of democratic values all the way through. And part of that, I think, is appreciation that science is one of the most precious public goods we have, and it deserves the support of every single citizen.
So as forces in Washington try to tear down both democracy and reality, our brave men and women of science soldier on in the quest for understanding our place in the universe. It's just in our DNA. For the Berkshire Edge, I'm Jim Frangione.
If I had a theory, I test it in the morning, I test it in the evening, all over this lab. I test out danger, I test out a warning, I test out love between my brothers and my sisters.